Welcome to r/nuclear revenge, where OP puts an entire business in prison. Our next Reddit post is from Mofuck. This happened about 15 years ago when I was living overseas in a developing country. Me and my friend, Han, were driving around the city one night when he got a call from his older brother, Barry. The phone call, from what I was able to tell, was pretty intense. After Han hung up, he was pretty frustrated. He told me to drive over to the supermarket near his parents' house, and I did. I asked Han what was wrong. He said it looked like his brother Barry had gotten into a fight and that he needs our help. On our way to the supermarket, Han called a couple of our friends and told them to meet us there for extra support. I know how this may sound. It sounds like we're a bunch of gangbangers looking to go start something. So before y'all jump to conclusions, let me give you some background. The community I used to live in is heavily tribal. It's not about ganging up, but more like standing up and being there for a friend in need. That's the common mindset, and that's their way of life. It's pretty backwards at this day and age, and it's worth pointing out that I'm completely against that mindset now, especially now that I'm living in the US. But anyways, we eventually arrived at that supermarket. It was in a very busy and vibrant area with lots of traffic. We parked our cars at the front door and stood out on the street waiting for Barry until he showed up. He was enraged, but calm and on point. Apparently, Barry and Han's mom went to the supermarket to buy some chicken. She needed to cook it that day, but when she got home and opened the container, the chicken smelled absolutely rotten and disgusting. Understandably, she went back to the store to return the chicken and notify the store management and get another chicken that isn't salmonella in a box, since she shops there quite often. I know my friend's mom. She's not a Karen in any way, and she's this super sweet lady in her 60s who's very friendly with everyone she meets. She went into the store, found the store manager, told him about the rotten chicken, and asked him, politely, to give her a different one. She was even discreet about it and didn't want other customers to hear. The manager was super rude and refused to acknowledge that there's anything wrong with the chicken outright, and refused to exchange the chicken and wouldn't even smell or look at it. He called her a liar and told her to get the hell out of my store. Han, having learned that his mom was insulted that way, was pretty furious. Barry told us that he was going inside to talk to the manager and give him a piece of his mind, and that he wanted us to be there on standby in case things went down. We agreed and waited outside. Barry went in. We were looking at him through the glass door. We saw him speak to a manager with a clear understanding of how heated this conversation was getting. Basically, Barry asked the manager if he's the one who told his mom to get the hell out, and the manager says, "Yeah, and you get the F out too," and shoved him away. Now, a little background on Barry. He was feared. He's always been kinda problematic since he was little. He was never a bully, but he just never took flack from anybody, ever. Now, while I didn't agree with the way he handled things, I've always respected how he stands up for himself and for the people he cares about. It's worth mentioning that he's a lot more calm now. Within seconds of him going into the store, and after hearing how belligerent that manager was, Barry lost control over his rage. And we saw him start throwing punches at the manager. Other employees joined in on the fight too, and all hell broke loose. Me, Han, and another friend of ours immediately jumped into the store. We started to trade punches with whoever was fighting. It was an utter melee. All I remember was that I punched the manager a few times and then I was on the ground. I didn't get punched or anything, and I still have no idea how I ended up on the ground. Luckily, no one got really injured from either side, but we had a clear advantage over them. The aftermath was horrific. Glass was broken, shelves were knocked down, and product stands were destroyed. I still remember M&Ms scattered all over the floor. It was a hot mess. At that time, we knew that we were absolutely screwed. We pretty much vandalized a whole store and physically assaulted its staff. Eventually we left and stood in front of the store and started cussing them out. They stayed inside the store because they knew the law would be on their side while they're on their property. We knew we better hurry up and press charges for assault. We got to the police station before the supermarket staff and filed a complaint against them. The staff eventually arrived like 15 minutes later to do the same thing. It was the butthole manager and another guy that was in the fight too. At the police station, it shocked me how nicely we were being treated by officers, and how terribly they treated the supermarket staff. Like, what the F is going on? Shouldn't we be in handcuffs right now? What I didn't know was this. While we were standing outside the store cussing those guys out after the fight, Barry disappeared. He did meet us at the police station, but we didn't know what he was doing until after the fight was over. Well, it turns out that while Barry was exiting the store after the fight, he started yelling, "My name is Barry such and such, and I'm not done messing you up." Apparently, a passing by police patrol heard Barry yell at the top of his lungs and stopped to see what was going on. Out of sheer coincidence, one of the patrolling officers turned out to be a distant cousin of Barry. It's a small country, and he recognized his name while he was shouting it out. He took Barry aside for a word and started asking him what was going on. Barry explained the entire story of how they insulted his mom after selling her bad chicken and refused to admit any wrongdoing. The officer also turned out to be an on-duty health and safety inspector. He took that personally and assured Barry that he would take care of it. Anyways, back at the police station, now that both parties have pressed charges, the police were clearly favoring us. They threw the supermarket staff in a cell while we were sitting on a couch sipping coffee, lol. Barry was still cussing the manager out. Eventually, we reached an agreement to drop all charges and we all went our way. Now the real revenge. After the store was picked up and everything went back to normal, kinda, Barry's officer cousin went to the supermarket on an inspection the next day. You see where this is going? Yep, he found tons and tons of badly stored meat of all kinds that was completely inedible and could potentially be life-threatening. He also found spoiled dairy and a buttload of expired items. Apparently, the owner ordered the staff to unplug the fridges and freezers at night to save on electricity. The owner was knowingly selling rotten meat to save a few bucks. The store was immediately shut down pending investigation. The health ministry got involved and fined the supermarket. The fine was just so huge that the store stayed shut down and never opened again because the owners weren't able to financially recover. Unplugging freezers is an unbelievably stupid policy because the cost of losing just one customer or returning one spoiled item completely overwhelms the tiny amount of money you save from turning off the freezers. It's just so dumb. Our next Reddit post is from That Spinach. Me and my husband are in a chicken breeding club, which provides an allotment garden-like structure. We joined a year ago, and we got to know Klaus, an old man who actually lives in one of those gardens. At first, he was very kind, helped us out 1 or 2 times. But after a while, he got very greedy, telling us to help him in his garden, selling stuff for him on eBay, or care for his chickens. Some people said that we should keep our distance from him, but we didn't listen. He regularly invited us to drink a beer with him, acted like he knew everyone in town, is well known and has many connections. But the thing was, yeah, he was known, but for all the bad reasons. We talked to him a lot in the first few months, and we noticed he was highly addicted to alcohol, and he tried to make a dime out of everyone and everything. At first he helped us out, for example, giving us tools for free or giving us money for working over at his place. Also, we kinda felt bad for him. Living your last days in a garden shed? But after a while, he gave us nearly nothing for our work. No money, broken tools, so garbage we had to dispose of. Not even a thank you. He also started to talk to us in a very demanding tone. Old male Karen, kinda like. Instead of messing with him, we started to simply distance us from him, not doing any more work for him. His last effort to win us back was to buy 20 weed plants and put them in his garden and showing us. He knew that we smoked. But as soon as he demanded that we sell his future 5 kilos, we backed off again. As others noticed that we didn't hang out with Klaus anymore, they started to tell us how Klaus truly is. Klaus started to live there as soon as another club member lost his home and lived on a farm over there. And Klaus said, "If he's allowed to, I'm allowed to as well." Klaus lived there for 14 years, not because he was homeless or he had a bad stroke of luck in life. It was because he wanted to live as inexpensively as possible. We learned he had loads of debts. No wonder considering how much he drank. We found out that was the case since he was old enough to drink. He's tried to rip everyone off from their money since forever. His brother, his best friend, even his wife. Some people said if Klaus's mother was still alive, he'd try to sell her. As the weeks went by, we learned more and more about Klaus, that he had done this with nearly everyone who joined the club, not only with us. We saw it too, as a new member who's also mentally disabled cut Klaus's hedge for him for 16 hours and got $20. And not a thank you. Klaus started to dislike the way we talked about him, so his response was to talk trash about us. He even threatened us to tell others that we smoke, which is illegal where we live. I mean, real full-fledged lies. For example, he told people we owed him $200, we would party at the farm late at night, and we would hit our dogs. At that last point, we snapped. We bought a drone, got pictures of his weed plants, and got the police involved. Gotta get them before they get you, lol. Klaus peacefully sat in the club's community house, drinking beer, as 10 police officers walked in, going directly into his garden. Little Klaus turned his head around like an owl and immediately stood up and walked outside. He asked one cop, "Hi, can I help you?" And they asked for his name. "Oh, Mr. Klaus, we were actually looking for you." Behind the officer talking to him, the other cops raided his farm, not only finding the plants, but discovering themselves that he lives there. The cops asked Klaus where he had his address, and Klaus told them the address of his long-deceased brother. They sent a car to that address, but found no evidence that Klaus could be living there. By the way, Klaus also got money from the state, social benefits, also meant to cover his rent. To be clear, the rent on this farm is $30 a year. So that is a huge no-no. Money fraud is one of the worst things you could do over here. The cops stayed at his farm for the next 4 hours, collecting evidence. The whole farm surroundings were patrolled by cops, so word spread like wildfire. Every single farm owner got over there to see what was happening, cheering that this douche finally got what was coming for him after ripping off so many people. It was amazing. This dude had 14 years to make this farm his little hidey hole, making money off of it. He had split the whole community, gave us a bad name overall, and wasn't even breeding chickens. He just had them to sell the eggs. To his luck, he was clever enough to tell the cops that it was only CBD, which was still illegal but not as much, so they had to send in the plants to test them, which bought him some time. The club held a meeting, and that was a shit show. As soon as the meeting started, Klaus said that we planted them there, that he only gave us this little plot. Most laughed, some said nothing. We voted for his eviction. He got 15 against him, and just 3 voted for him to stay. So this old, parasitic, greedy dude got kicked out of his home, and he's maybe going to jail soon for growing marijuana. Down in the comments, people asked who were the 3 people who voted for him to stay, and OP replied, his buddy, his ex, and his ex's son. That was r/nuclear revenge, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.